Welcome. My name is Lisa J. Haskins. This is Trust, Empowerment, Peace, and I want to welcome you to this short discussion. I want to tell you I started this website and my work with women probably about 5 years ago with the sole intention of letting people know, victims and survivors, that you are not alone. That is and has and continues to be my intention. So I want to tell you that I am a real survivor of narcissistic abuse. I was married for 18 years. I fled my home and escaped. And I understand from my heart, I understand the confusion, the devastation, the complete and utter suffering, the suffering of the body, the suffering of the mind, and the suffering of the heart. And this is very real. And again, I'm going to go through the agenda for this discussion. I just want to share with you. The first thing I want to say is you may be thinking, who am I and why should you even listen to me? I'm just going to give you a brief bio. I am an advanced teacher of therapeutic yoga, trauma-informed. I teach meditation. I am also trained as a positive psychology trainer and consultant. I've worked with over hundreds of women throughout the years, supporting and guiding. I have background in mindfulness-based stress reduction, and I am a school teacher. My courses and things that I teach, I use my skills as a teacher. But to begin, I'm going to talk about the 3 sabotaging beliefs. What are the 3 sabotaging beliefs that just leave us feeling stuck and unable to move on into our lives with some vitality and energy and hope? Then the trauma is real. There is a science of trauma. And after surviving such devastation and such deep, direct suffering, I cannot emphasize this enough. The trauma is real. The science supports it. It's not in your imagination. The spiraling negative thoughts are real, and the cycle leaves imprints on the body. So again, we'll go through the role of science just briefly and then talk about the body, mind, and spirit and how that is all impacted. How the compass that guides us, the guiding compass that leads us through our lives, that allows us to know when to let people in and when to hold firm, is completely off after a toxic relationship. And the need to heal oneself, and that healing is possible for everybody. And I believe I am sitting here, I am no different from you. Let me just say that. We are one and we are connected. The 3 sabotaging beliefs, this comes from science and cognitive behavior therapy, cognitive psychology, modern psychology. The only way, so after suffering from trauma and suffering in all the manipulations, the unpredictability, the lies, the gaslighting, all of it, when we finally are able to separate ourselves, we want to protect ourselves. The body, the mind, the spirit wants to protect after such suffering. And so what we do and what we tend to establish as a belief system is the only way I'm going to feel safe and protected is by isolating and going alone. And this creates this complete disconnection. So we don't feel we can trust anybody. Even me right now, you may not be trusting me. And I get it, right? I didn't trust anybody. But that belief causes such deep pain and further separation actually from yourself. And it leads to this like hardening of the heart. The second sabotaging belief is no one is ever going to understand my suffering and what I endured. I get it. I could not allow or would not even listen to anybody unless they had experienced the rage of a narcissistic abuser, unless they had studied intensely the personality disorder. I mean, I have read hundreds of books about narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, and I felt like unless you understood all of this, you're never going to understand. And again, this is more of this protective instinct that we want to bring to ourselves, but it prevents us from healing. It prevents us from hope. It prevents us from healing. The other side of that coin, unfortunately, and I have seen this many times with people that I have guided through some of my work with my private therapy clients, is yoga therapy. I want to be clear about that. I'm not a counselor or a psychologist. Is that we trust too many people. And so this line of boundaries, where boundaries are meant to protect us in keeping things that are harmful out, these internal and external boundaries. But boundaries are also necessary to know what to allow in. And sometimes when the body, the mind, and the spirit is out of balance, we tend to, and many people do, repeat the same patterns in this like desperation to feel whole. They end up coupling with another narcissist and becoming involved in another abusive relationship with a narcissist. And that is just incredibly painful. The third sabotaging belief is, again, this hard, like, I can handle this. I can muscle through. I'm going to work more. I'm going to try harder. I'm going to put this behind me. And let me tell you, there's a saying, what we resist persists. The emotions, the thoughts, the deep grief. There is such deep grief. And then we feel guilty for grieving. How can we grieve the loss of someone who is so cruel and and abandoned us and abused us, and someone that we thought we could trust, someone we were intimate for so long? This deep grief, when we're pushing these things down, pushing the emotions down, pushing the thoughts down, and just thinking we can muscle through, this does not serve us, and sabotages us from actually moving forward. There are some shadow sides that we need to, I don't want to say confront, but we need to acknowledge, accept, and begin to make different choices, turning towards what did happen. We can't consciously change something that we do not identify and acknowledge. And this is part of healing. The trauma is real. The body remembers. This is also related to the science. The trauma lives in the tissues in the body. And many times we disconnect from the body after trauma because it just is too painful to acknowledge the residual impact in the body. And this comes, the chronic stress and anxiety that literally inhabits the body, the mind. This is the negative thinking, the spiraling, the rumination. I mean, just going through over and over again. Why did this happen to me? How could this happen? What could I have done different? And this outward focus of trying to control that which is uncontrollable. Let me say here right now, you saved yourself. If you're here and you're listening to this, you saved yourself, and embracing that strength and deciding, I am going to move on. So just acknowledging and taking that first step to save yourself, clearing from the delusion of the mind. The mind is, cloudy and foggy, right? Our water has been muddied from all the horrible things that have happened, the horrible things that have been said and done to us, that we need to clear the water, clear the toxicity from inside of us, right? And it's just a cycle. The stress in the body, the stress is in the mind, and it perpetuates. The role of science, I do go through this more in depth, but specifically how it relates to survivors of trauma from tangling with a narcissistic abuser, beyond tangling, just the devastation. The autonomic nervous system is a part of the central nervous. It controls every piece of the body, the digestive system, the respiratory system, the heart, the endocrine system. And so in the course that I teach, I talk about this and just talk about the impact of the autonomic nervous system that is completely out of balance, right? From all the unpredictability. And that sympathetic nervous system, that is one of the wings of the autonomic nervous system, is completely jacked up. The amygdala, that is part of the lower brain, is still scanning constantly for threat, because we've just been completely inundated with threats over such a long period of time. It actually doesn't even have to be that long period of time. Okay? That the body and mind it's completely out of balance. But the good news is that the practices of yoga, the therapeutic yoga practices, which is not just the asana, the postures that you may attribute to a typical yoga class, but therapeutic yoga, the breathing practices, the body scans, and the cognitive tools that you can use, journaling, etc., can bring the body and the mind back to balance. And this, again, in closing, the body, mind, spirit, the role of grief and the hardened heart. We need to allow to fully feel everything that happened to us, experience it, everything that we experienced. So we need to feel and allow for the grief, allow for the emotions, with a softening to release from this hardened heart that holds us in a stuck place. We can release from the resentment and all the regret. Oh my goodness, how much regret there is. There's so much. And we can come to forgiveness of self, okay, which is a huge piece. And then allow ourselves to step into the future with hope and guided by our inner wisdom. Okay, because everyone can step into their lives with support and with this effort and energy that it takes to heal. It's not a passive endeavor, but small steps can lead to big change. The additional resources, you've already opted in, so you'll be receiving my blog. And these are the insights and reflections that I've been writing for years now. I do have a course, Recover and Rediscover Healing course. It has been, I'm so grateful for my teachers that have endorsed or written me praise for this. Mindfulness, experts in mindfulness, experts in positive psychology. Again, I'm so grateful for their support through the years. And Insight Timer, I do record meditations on Insight Timer for my clients and for the people that I work with. And I am on Facebook. I try to post inspirational quotes and just more insights. Thank you so much for being with me today. And I hope really genuinely that anything I've said today serves you in your journey. Thank you.